You take a sound, any sound, record it, and then change its nature by a multiplicity of operations. You record it at different speeds, you play it backwards, you add it to itself over and over again. You adjust filters, echoes.
Hi everyone, so today I wanted to make a quick video about something that is unfortunately all too familiar to a lot of people, and that is the topic of depression, anxiety, OCD. I think it's so important to talk about these things because so many people are going through depression or anxiety or have gone through it at one point in their life. And I feel like when you're going through it, you feel like you're crazy, you feel like you're the only one or that there's something wrong with you. And so I think it's so important to just be open about it and, share your story and share what has helped you. And, hopefully, maybe there's something that you're going to say that's going to inspire someone else or help them get through it, or at least make them feel like they're not alone. I'm not going to go into all of the details because then this video is going to be like a year long, but I just wanted to briefly share my story, my experience, some things that have helped me, and I would love to hear some responses or hear other people's stories. So first and foremost, I do want to say that for anyone that feels depressed, that feels anxious, that has OCD or intrusive thoughts or something like that, please don't think that you're crazy or that you're alone. I feel like in our modern world, just about everyone has experienced some sort of depression in their life. So first and foremost, I do want to say that I'm not a doctor. I don't have a psychology degree or anything. All I can tell you is what I've gone through, and I've seen a lot of people around me go through these things as well. So I'm just speaking from personal experience, from what has worked for me, what has worked for people around me. Different things work for different people, and this is a serious issue that does require professional help if that's what you feel or you need. For some people, all you might need is a change of diet and exercise. For other people, medication helps. So in no way am I sitting here telling you that this is what you have to do. No, not at all. I'm just telling you, what I felt and things that have helped me or helped people around me. Like, we live in this society. Now, I'm not gonna go on a rant on how our society is so messed up and, technology and GMOs and this and that. Like, yeah, that's a completely different topic, and we've all heard all of that before. But, honestly, I feel like our society is changing so quickly with technology, with, maybe lack of, physical communication, and with the change in diet and the lack of exercise and the fast pace, the pictures that we start our morning with, through Instagram, the combination of all of that is enough to shift your mental health at least a little bit. From my experience, I know that when I'm heavily involved in social media, or, when I'm just going through regular life stresses that are unfortunately normal nowadays, that is when I feel the most anxious, when I feel the most depressed. I'm not going to go into, family details in this video. There might be a separate video if that's something that you'd be interested in watching or seeing, or maybe you've gone through a similar thing. But I did grow up surrounded by different types of mental illnesses. I grew up with a parent who had a serious illness develop later on in her life. And she's been on a series of treatments and medications, and sometimes it would help, sometimes it would make things worse. It's still a work in progress. I started experiencing her transformation when I was 8, and that's when my family moved from Russia to America, which, of course, just the stress of that is enough to really challenge a person. And then, of course, because of that affected the rest of us. And I guess all of my family is really sensitive, so we're definitely prone to emotional spirals and all of that. But course, then it affected, my mom's health affected my dad's health, obviously, and led him into a series of, like, situational depression, this and that. And my older sister went through depression and a bipolar disorder, or at least that's what they thought it was. She was on a series of meds. And things that I've experienced through my life, OCD, intrusive thoughts, anxiety, and I would say situational depression. But OCD has been probably the worst for me, and that started probably when I was like 10. I'm sure that it has to do a lot with the stress of adjusting to a new environment and the stress of family and just growing up like as a child from a different country who didn't speak the language and this and that. But I started experiencing OCD, and it was, things that you've heard before, like I would have to circle something with my eyes a certain amount of times, or say something in my head like 5 times, or arrange something a certain way. And at first it was just, oh yeah, whatever, she's being a kid. But then it really started to affect me and scare me, and to the point of, oh, if I don't do that, then something really bad is going to happen. That would come in stages, and it would usually get worse towards the evening when I would be tired, or when I would be specifically going through something stressful, or when I would be upset. And then it started to transition, like as I went to middle school, I would say, like 7th, 8th grade. I started to experience intrusive thoughts. It's come and went throughout the years since it started. Thankfully, it's not that big of a deal anymore, but from middle school to probably till I was about 21, and maybe even like, yeah, almost to like a year ago, come and go. And that is very scary. And basically, if you're not familiar with intrusive thoughts, from what I understand from the research that I have done, it is a form of OCD, and that is basically when you have thoughts that you're not actually thinking, pretty much just get into your head and steal your headspace. And these thoughts are usually nothing great. They're usually not affirmations or positive thoughts. They're pretty bad. They're very disturbing, and maybe people have different ones. For me personally, they were very, very disturbing and very brutal. It's everything. It's the worst thing that you can possibly think of that will hurt you the most, and that's the thought that you get, and it keeps getting into your head and not going away. Keep telling yourself like, oh my god, this is not me, I'm not thinking this, but it still keeps going to your head and sitting in there and constantly repeating itself. And it's a similar feeling to OCD, only OCD is something that you're kind of physically doing, and this is something that's manifesting in your mind. And you feel like you're possessed sometimes, especially as a kid and not having any idea about these kind of things or how these things work. Like, it's frightening, and the last thing you want to do is go tell a grown-up like, hey, so I've been getting these thoughts lately, here they are. No, I would be terrified. I would cry. I would totally break down from them. But somehow, I honestly don't remember how I would deal with it as a kid. I would just try to distract myself as much as possible, or like read books, or I've learned like, closer to high school that I know that I feel more stressed when I listen to like loud music or like rock music or something that gets me a little hyper. I know that will elevate my levels of stress, and I would pray, and which is also important. Like, you don't have to be religious, but having some sort of outlet like that did help for me personally. And so with age, it would get really bad, then it would go away. And then a couple of years later, like towards the end of high school, I did open up my dad about my OCD. I did see my older sister go through, really bad tantrums and mood spikes and this and that. So, this was a familiar topic in our family, but you don't really want to say anything because other people look at you like you're crazy or there's something wrong with you and be like, okay, they're there. Honestly, most likely they're not going to do that, and they're gonna want to help you, and they're probably gonna be understanding because they probably went through something they might not want to share either. So don't be scared to share this with someone that you trust, cares about you, or a therapist or a doctor. The advice that he gave me about my OCD that has helped me majorly is basically to treat it like a foreign energy. Like, imagine there's just this dark cloud that comes to you, and it knows that by making you do these things, these pattern of things, it is basically taking your energy out, and that is what it's feeding off of. So basically this energy is feeding off of you, and every time you fall into it, you give it your energy. So basically just step outside yourself and understand that this isn't you, and you have total control of what you do and where you send your energy. And just be aware of it. Maybe it's not going to work right away, but just tell yourself, okay, so I feel the need, to say this thing 5 times. I really don't want to, but I understand it's this cloud that's trying to take my energy. So, okay, you know what? I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm going to let it be and kind of let it float there and accept it. Maybe even welcome it, because the more you fight it and the more you try to get rid of it, the worse it's going to get and the worse it's going to eat you up. As soon as you acknowledge it, kind of step outside yourself and come into the state of awareness, it starts to fade. Now, this is not a scientific explanation of anything. This is just something that worked for me and something that I understood. To kind of go more into this, I feel like some people might understand where I'm going with this and others won't, and that's totally fine. And please share, maybe how you've dealt with these kind of things. And also, if it's, for me personally, it was at a level where I could still function with like daily activities and stuff. If this is taking over your life completely, do see a professional, do see a therapist, a psychologist. Maybe you don't have to necessarily jump on meds right away, but at least talking to someone about it and letting it out there, talking to someone who is familiar with this and hears about this all day long, that might be enough to help you out. Definitely don't keep it to yourself. Something that I would really recommend is a book called Untethered by Michael Singer. It's an amazing book. It's more about like the spiritual aspect of things and stopping thoughts, intrusive thoughts, and just overall making your life better and not living on autopilot by the control of your thoughts that you don't even want to be thinking, but instead coming into consciousness and awareness and living to your fullest potential. A lot of the things that are mentioned in those books can possibly help you with understanding OCD and intrusive thoughts a little more. It's not something that you're going to get rid of in a day, but at least being aware of it and starting to observe yourself and seeing when do the symptoms get better, when do they get worse, and starting to kind of and so the intrusive thoughts would kind of come and go, and I started dealing with them sort of the way I was dealing with OCD, with coming to an awareness and trying not to fight them and understanding that this is not me. This is not me. I'm not thinking this. I'm not going to react to it. I'm just gonna let it be. Honestly, once I started doing that, and a lot of that was after reading Untethered Soul, that is when it started to get much better. Understanding that, it's not me, and I'm not thinking these things, and I can make the choice to not react to it, is such a liberating feeling, because you're no longer a slave to your own mind. And again, people have different levels of these kind of things, and it might not be the way that you want to go about, dealing with this, but it's definitely something that has worked for me. And anxiety, is a whole different topic, but of course it's all related as well. But again, with that, being aware of when it happens and when it gets worse, and then just kind of accepting it, and not letting it capture me and take total control of me, and just coming into an awareness, understanding what's going on, and then accepting it helps immensely. And how you go about this is going to work differently for different people. So I want to mention again that this is such a common thing nowadays, And it's so important not to just keep it in you, talk to a friend, a parent, a therapist, someone, because it's so common. And honestly, we're such sensitive beings, and every part of us is connected to the other. Still, it's so important to do research, figure out, are there any improvements that you can do? Is there something particular that's bothering you, or is this just kind of, an out of the blue thing? And active about it. You don't just listen to one person, don't just get advice from me or just a friend or one parent and then that's it, or even a doctor. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna go on a rant about like medicine and stuff. It helps a lot of people, and it's definitely a solution for some people. You can't give your health into the hands of anyone else. Yes, we have amazing doctors who will help you, but it's your job to take care of yourself every single day, and it's so important to do research, hear other people's stories, read articles, figure out how diet plays into it, how exercise plays into it. Maybe it's your lifestyle, maybe it's something, you're doing subconsciously. Just do as much research as you can and understand what's going on from different points before taking one word of advice and then just implementing that. Because for one person, medication might work. For another person, meditation might work. For another person, just awareness. For a different person, maybe there was something wrong with one of their organs, and that's why all of us started going berserk. We're such sensitive beings, and one little thing goes wrong in one part of the body, and then the rest of the body gets affected, and the mind just goes berserk, and everything is connected. It's not just one thing. I believe that mental health is a combination of the physical, the mental, the spiritual. It's not about just fixing one thing. It's usually a combination of things. I know this video doesn't really go into much detail about what I've been through, but this is more of just kind of an introduction and an opening to this topic. If there's anything good that you can take away from this video, then great. I definitely want to make more videos that address, the specific aspects a little more. And I'd love to hear your responses and your stories, and if you have any specific questions or suggestions or anything that you want to hear, just let me know and post it in the comments below, or leave a video response and I'll be sure to get back to you. So just remember that you're an amazing being, you're here for a reason, and you're loved, and you're not alone, and you're not crazy. Or maybe we're just all crazy. I don't know. You're an amazing being and there's nothing wrong with you. You're incredible, and you're beautiful, and you're loved. And if you ever need to talk, or if you have any questions about anything, feel free to send me a message, comment, a video response, anything. Hopefully there's something in this video that can help you, but feel free to respond to it. And I think this is a very important topic, and we should definitely be a little more open about this. And I'll be sure to post more videos addressing more specific parts of my story. But thank you so much for watching. Remember that you're loved, you're amazing, you're beautiful, and I'll see you in the next video.